Welcome to the Heavy Spoiler Show. I'm your host Paul, aka Baby Vader, and who else is here after staying up to watch the Disney Investor Day event? Even though I didn't go to bed until 4 AM, you know I couldn't miss a moment of The Mandalorian, and this video we're going to be breaking down everything you need to know about the latest episode. Last time we saw Grogu reach out to another Jedi in the galaxy, but before we could find out who, the little rascal was snatched up by Moff Gideon faster than I cancelled my Razor Crest pre-order. Joined by Bill Burr's Mayfeld, Episode 7 follows Mando and co as they try and attempt to get the location of Gideon's ship. Before we get into that though, if you've been enjoying the video so far, I'd massively appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our recap of the finale. Anyway, the entry is filled to the brim with cool little Easter eggs and details, and we pick up almost immediately after the events of Episode 6, with Cara Dune going to a Republican scrapyard in order to free Mayfeld. I was expecting this entry to be some sort of prison escape, but I guess it's more about who you know rather than what you know, as she manages to get him out there without a hitch at all. Cara was of course made a marshal recently, so this clearance allows her to just walk in and out with the character. Unfortunately, Nick Frost isn't in this episode, which is a bit strange, as his face was shown in the lineup last week, but it turns out that it must have just been a cameo as he's completely missing. However, the junkyard is filled to the brim with Easter eggs including TIE fighter cockpits, X-Wing engines, an AT-ST and the AT-AT inspired cranes that we saw in episode 3. We join a security droid as he goes up to prisoner 34667, aka Mayfeld. You may remember in the prisoner episode from last season that these droids were throughout, and it was said that the Republic's reliance on them caused serious issues. As we know, the First Order rose due to the instability that they created, and we very much get the idea from Mayfeld that things are just as bad no matter who's in power. Now I love that Boba Fett has cleaned up his armour, and I always wondered why it looked like crap in comparison to Jango's. I guess you don't know what you've got till it's gone, but he's ironed out all of the kinks except the dint in his helmet, and it looks like he actually cares this time. Now symbolically, I took this as meaning that he was once more proud to be a Mandalorian. Star Wars lore has kind of gone back and forth over the past couple of decades as to whether Jango and Boba were truly part of the Creed. However, last week confirmed that the former was indeed a foundling, and therefore they are. Thus, the cleaning of this armour not only shows the pride he's able to take in wearing it again, but also that he may have been accepted as one finally. That's just how I took it, but let me know below if you disagree. Now it turns out that Mayfeld knows how to get Imperial information due to his old protocols, and these will help Mando get back Grogu. Cara also says they have his kid, and the wording on this is very important to me as it finally shows that the pair are pretty much father and son. The cockpit of Slave 1 rotates as they ascend into the air, and this is because the ship of course turns on its axis in order to fly. Now it's not too long before they reach Morak, a tropical forest planet that to me resembles Scarif from Rogue One, minus the water. It turns out the Empire have been mining it for precious materials, and mining is something that we've actually seen pop up throughout the series. There were of course those that attacked Cobb Vanth's settlement in episode 1, and I do believe that the Magistrate had specialised in it too. Because of this, we further get the idea that the Empire is ransacking planets and bleeding them dry in order to get what they want. Now the target is a refinery which specialises in rhydonium, an explosive material that will help them carry out devastating attacks on planets. Skipping ahead a little bit here, but there is lip service paid to Operation Cinder, which you'll be familiar with if you've played Battlefront 2. Operation Cinder was carried out several weeks after the Battle of Endor, and it was viewed as a contingency plan by the Emperor to decimate massive parts of the galaxy so that neither the Empire or its enemies outlived him. Because the rhydonium is heavily protected, the group have to sneak in, and after commandeering a Juggernaut escorting the precious material, they all head in. The Juggernauts have changed quite heavily in design, and whereas previously they were more like tanks, here we can see an almost train-like design that allows them to transport a lot of cargo. In order to reach the coordinates, a face scan must be carried out, so you have to either be in the system or not registered at all. Cara is with the Republic, Fennec is wanted by the ISP, and Boba Fett, or rather Jango's face, is absolutely everywhere. Now Mando initially refuses to show his, but he has a change of heart which we'll discuss later in the episode. They put on the helmets of two troopers, but during the ride, Mayfeld actually removes his. Now he says he doesn't know how you people can wear it, but clarifies that he meant Mandalorians and not nerf hurters, which I still can't believe that Leia said. Now here, just winds me up that. Now here, we can start to see the design of the Empire Trooper helmet and how it's changed. Originally, they were more in line with Mandalorian helmets before they began to shift to the classic Stormtrooper that we saw throughout the original trilogy. However, for the sequel trilogy, things changed more to a sort of slit with the rise of the First Order, and that design is of course present here too. The pair talk back and forth about how one's allegiances tend to be formed by where they are born, and that in some ways Mando is a slave to the beliefs that were given to him. When he was a child, he of course didn't wear a helmet, but due to being a foundling who was then raised by a certain sect of Mandalorians, he believes that covering one's face is the way. Mayfeld sort of goes on an arc in this episode and shows that he's a free man that isn't confined to the beliefs that were instilled in him growing up. Similar to this, Mando also sort of breaks free from the chains of belief and removes his helmet in order to get the coordinates for Gideon's ship. Mayfeld brings up Alderaan and Mandalore and how the beliefs of those planets formed certain things people accepted, but that neither exist anymore, so what's the point in believing them in the first place? Rebels be watching this like, are we the baddies? Now on this road, we see as they pass destroyed Rhydonium, and we learn that this is actually caused for a number of reasons. If you ride too fast, then it can blow up, and there's also pirates in the area that use thermal detonators to destroy who they see as invaders. I wonder if these pirates can hook me up with HBO Max, eh? Anyway, Mando is actually a crack shot, which I found funny as stormtroopers are typically terrible, and though he runs out of ammo, he manages to fend them off until Ties and troopers arrive. These lads remind me of my wife a bit, because she likes to ride on Ian, who is our postman, eh? Anyway, the idea of Ties arriving backs up the point that Mayfeld was trying to make, in that once you get to see things from a person's point of view, you can see how they believe themselves to be the only way to live. However, all cultures are like this, even though they contradict one another, and thus nothing is really true. It adds a lot of depth to the episode, and I loved how we actually had some heroic music as the troopers showed up. Now, upon entering the facility, we can see what are also very similar to Scarif troopers. But hey, as this is a different planet, they're obviously not called this, and Morak troopers it is. Now, Mayfeld spots a terminal in the officer's mess, but he notices that his old commander, Valen Hess, is there too. He pretty much walks in and out, and it looks very suspicious, I must say. Mayfeld seems like the only one who can do it, as the terminal has to scan your face, but Mando removes his helmet and finally gets the coordinates. Just as they're about to leave, Hess stops them and asks questions, but Mayfeld does the old, me mate's deaf, and not definition, he's that old crap poor lad that no one likes instead. Hess is played by Richard Brake, who you may remember from Game of Thrones, and also for playing Joe Chill in Batman Begins. Things seem like they're going to kick off, and it's very tense, but all he wants to do is get them a drink, so hey, maybe these aren't the bad guys after all. Now unfortunately, Hess asks for a toast, and Mayfeld brings up how he was part of Operation Cinder. As mentioned earlier, the Empire fired on its own people, and clearly this hasn't sat well with the character. He brings up how many troopers and their families along with civilians died for it, and how, no matter what way you try and spin it, it wasn't for the greater good. Hess brings up how the New Republic is in complete disarray, and how the supplies the pair have dropped off are going to be used to destroy more families. Hess revels in it, and it sends Mayfeld over the edge, who decides to shoot first, Han Solo style. The pair make their exit by using a ledge overlooking a dam, and damn, what a sick way to close things off. Fennec and Cara shoot the anti-air gunners using snipers, and Slave One arrives in order to pick up the pair. Now, because one of the pirates left the Rhydonium exposed on the Juggernaut, Mayfeld is able to shoot it and destroy the entire facility with one blast. Ties pursue the ship, but using a seismic charge, which you may recall from Attack of the Clones, Boba is able to take them out. Now what they should do is take Mayfeld back to prison, however they say that the lad's dead, and this finally gives him the freedom that he's been after. Mayfeld may now go off into the galaxy and create his own path, no longer restricted by the enforcements made by either the Empire or Republic. The episode closes with Mando sending a message to the Moff, and he actually quotes the character directly. In Season 1, Gideon said, "You have something I want. You may think that you have some idea of what you're in possession of, but you do not. In a few moments it will be mine. It means more to me than you will ever know." Worst impression ever, but this is an awesome little exchange, and Mando changes it to he to show that he actually cares about Grogu. Obviously, stuff is about to go down next week, and I can't wait to see what happens in the finale. Now, if you missed the Disney Investor Day event, then you probably don't know that there's a lot of shows such as an Ahsoka spin-off that have been announced. So it does indeed look like Grand Admiral Thrawn will remain as the villain for that, as we know that Moff Gideon will be back for Season 3. Thus, next week, I'm actually expecting an Empire-esque ending in which it seems like all things are lost. You know how Star Wars love to do that in the middle of stuff? And say Mando only gets 3 seasons, that it makes sense to kind of cut things off on a cliffhanger before we head into the final one. Whichever Jedi Grogu reached out to, hopefully Ezra will return to help, and then he'll set up the Ahsoka show, I think. Obviously, I don't know if there's going to be Season 3 or not, but clearly Disney are launching a lot of Star Wars shows, so who knows if they're going to have time for it. Obviously, I'd love for things to continue, but with Star Wars, you just never know. Anyway, that wraps up the entry, and thanks for sticking with me until the end. Don't forget that on the 30th of December, we're giving away 3 copies of the Lord of the Rings 4K box set to our subscribers. All you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our full breakdown of the Disney Investor Day, which will be linked on screen right now. We cover all the upcoming Star Wars shows and movies, as well as what we can expect to see in the Marvel slate over the coming years. Anyway, with that out of the way, thank you for sitting with me until the end of the video. May the Force be with you always. I've been Paul, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.